What's going on, familia? 2023 is already here. And if you want to buy real estate this year, then you're going to want to watch this video because I'm going to lay out the 3 things that I'm going to be doing to buy real estate and make sure that I'm ready for that. Because as many of you guys know, one of our goals is to be able to purchase a duplex to house hack. And so I got to follow these 3 things as well in order to do so. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first thing that's got to be taken care of is your credit score. Because if you do not have a good credit score, lenders aren't going to want to lend to you. And even if they do, you're going to have a much higher monthly payment than that of someone with good credit. In my experience, I've been able to acquire all of the properties that I have up until this point, which are 4, with a 740 credit score. I think typically anything above a 740 credit score is not going to get you anything better of a monthly payment. So as long as you have a 740 credit score or above, you should be in good standing. Now, if you don't have any credit at all, or you have bad credit, you're gonna have to be patient because building credit for the first time generally takes about 6 months. And then building good credit can take even longer. You see, I got my first credit card back in 2016, and I only had that one credit card to help myself build credit. And I made my wife an authorized user of that credit card, which allowed her to also build credit, even though she didn't apply for a credit card herself. So we were able to get the card in 2016, and by the time 2018 rolled around, we were able to purchase our first property. So while you work toward building a strong credit profile, it's important that you practice responsible credit habits such as making payments on time and being patient. Okay, so now we've established that the first thing you gotta get done is your credit score. And in my experience, I've had really great luck with monthly payments with a 740 credit score. Now moving on to the second thing you gotta make sure you have in check, and it's not so much a thing as it is a dollar amount. And that's going to be $20,000. You see, whenever I first started investing in real estate, I would always ask myself, okay, like investing in real estate is awesome. It's dandy. I get it. But how much money do I actually need? I need to know a concrete amount that I need to have in my bank account in order to do this. And I would never get a straight answer from any YouTube video that I found or any question that I asked Google. And the reason for that was because prices vary all around the nation. You see, a property in California can cost around $500,000, whereas in my local area, it could cost about $200,000. And because those prices vary, then the amount of money that you're going to need in your bank account is also going to vary. But for the sake of anyone that just needs to know a straight answer as to how much money you need to have at least in your bank account, in my opinion, and remember, this is just my opinion, you're going to need at least $20,000. Now, some of you might be thinking, $20,000? I've never even had any more than $7,000 in my bank account. Well, this is where you got to face that harsh reality. 2023 can be your year if you decide to make it that way. The way I see it, there are only 2 ways that you can build up to $20,000. And that's by saving up money or by making more money. Now, there are a lot of side hustles that you can get into to make that extra money and build up your nest egg. But in my opinion, any good real estate investor knows how to manage their money. So not only do they know how to make money, but they know how to save it and know how to deploy each dollar bill that they have into smart investments, not just into nonsensical things. So let's make an example out of this so y'all don't think that I'm pulling $20,000 out of my butt, okay? So let's go with the example of $200,000, which is normal in my area, okay? You want to buy this property for $200,000 and you want to move into it, so you're going to be using a 3% conventional loan. And so let's just say for this example, since it's a 3% down conventional loan, you're going to be moving into the property and you're also going to be fixing it up while you live there. Eventually, you're going to be moving out and renting out the property. So 3% down from $200,000, that's going to cost you $6,000 as a down payment. And then just as an example, let's just go ahead and use $8,000 as closing costs that's going to be coming out of your own pocket so you can close on this deal. That's already $14,000. So now let's say that you've moved in and now you got to fix it up. Well, that's going to take paint, floors, windows, lighting, landscape, etc., etc., etc. And so those $6,000 that were left from the $14,000 are gone. That's $20,000 right there. And that's not even including your regular bills that you're going to have to pay every month for whatever else that you've got. And so you're going to have to make sure that you have at least $20,000 in your bank account, if not more, before you ever decide to start investing in real estate. And then lastly, but certainly not least, the third thing that you're going to have to make sure you have in check is your debt to income ratio. You see, whenever you go apply for a loan to go buy a property, lenders not only look at your credit score, but also, and probably more importantly, your debt to income ratio. You can have an outstanding credit score and a lot of money in your bank account, but if you don't have your debt to income ratio in check, then you will get less than favorable terms in your loan, if at all. And that's because your debt to income ratio will show lenders whether or not you have way too much debt to be able to afford a property that you want to buy. So how do you get your debt to income ratio in check? Well, you got to make sure that you don't have more debt than you have income. Now, lenders like to use a certain standard, a certain percentage, and the figure percentage that lenders like to use is normally around 43%. And so what this means is essentially you cannot exceed 43% in debt against your income. So let's just say, for example, that your gross monthly income is around $4,000 a month. That would mean that the most amount of debt that you can have is around $1,700 a month. Any more debt than that would probably put you over that 43% threshold, which will make it very difficult to acquire a loan and ultimately to acquire a property. And so that's why I wanted to save this one for last, because this is the one that for me is the most important. You could have an outstanding credit score. You can have a ton of money in the bank. But if you've got credit card loans, student loans, car loans, furniture loans, etc., 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 you're not going to be able to buy any property. So it's very crucial that we get this understood and that we start paying down all of our debts before we start looking into buying some property. And believe me, that can be hard. I've had to do the same thing myself. I remember the first couple years that my wife and I were married, and every tax season, whenever we'd get money back from our income tax, we would use all of it to pay down our loans. And I remember towards the end of it, my wife still had a couple $1,000s left towards her student loan, and I still had a couple $1,000s left for my car loan. And throughout those couple years of income tax returns, we were able to throw all of that towards our debt, and we were finally able to be debt-free. And this is all the while we were living in a small apartment. But I believe that since we had no debts is what set us up for success to be able to buy our first property back in 2018. And so these are the 3 things that I'm going to keep an eye on and have in check for this year so that I can buy a duplex, hopefully by the end of this summer of 2023. And I hope that these can also serve you well as you continue to invest throughout this year. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.